Here's how I beat racism. I got rich. I tell people that, and at first some people laugh, but then some people say, "What are you talking about?" When I was younger, I didn't have money. I grew up with no money, and I dealt with racism. As I got older and, decided to go to university, study to become a physician, I was kind of on that path to realizing that if I can become a doctor and make a good living, I know that for the most part, I could get out of this situation I was in and have some money and create a life for myself where I might run into little pockets of racism here and there, but for the most part, it wouldn't really affect my life. I was wrong. Money completely transformed my life and completely transformed how much racism entered my world. There was a direct correlation between how much money I had and how much racism I dealt with. And the reality is, and this is just for me, I'm sharing my experience here. I'm not saying this is the way, this is the truth, this is the light, and this is how the world is. I am saying for me, personally, sharing my story, the wealthier and more successful I got, the less and less racism that even came into my world. Most of what I dealt with along the way, even as a child, was not racism. It was ignorance. It was people who were raised a certain way or had certain ideologies or ideas about people who looked like me. And because of that, they did things and maybe said things that were ignorant. Racism, as someone who has experienced racism, as someone who was fired from their job because of the color of their skin, I can speak to it. There's a lot of people out there who say that's racist, this is racist, right? One, they've never been a victim of racism, so they have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. Two, they're just saying that to point the finger at someone and make someone feel bad. And the reality is when you do that, you are actually watering down the word racism, and you're actually doing a disservice. It's a slap in the face to call a hat or a pen or a flag racist to someone who's experienced actual racism, someone who's lost their job, lost money, had things taken away from them, were not able to do things that other people who were white were able to do. That's racism, right? That's real racism. I've experienced that. That's real. Racism isn't, oh, that piece of cloth over there, I think this, or I'm told this, or I saw this on the news, so that's racist. No, that flag never took food off my table. That flag never fired me from a job. That flag never prevented me from getting a promotion while giving it to other white people. No. That's racism. When you take away and you don't give the equal opportunity and you give it to someone else. And it's all because of the color of the skin, in my case. Let's now go into how I beat it. I realized that as I grew my wealth, I started my company, the company started growing, and I started to gain wealth. And then I started investing in real estate. Right? And as I started investing in real estate, my wealth continued to grow. And then I started investing in stocks and then continued to grow. And then I started businesses and I got other passive income sources. And then my wealth continued to grow. But along the way, certain things happened. Along the way, I went from driving a certain car to driving nicer cars to now driving the cars I'm driving now. And I have 5 of them. Along the way, I was able to move. I changed where I was living, and I started moving into better and better areas, nicer and nicer areas where the homes were more and more expensive. And although, surprise, surprise, in these areas where the homes were more money and the areas were more expensive, one, they were way safer, and that's why People want to move and live in these areas. They're safer. They have better schools, and they're safer. You don't want to worry about going out to your driveway and getting carjacked or coming home and being followed and someone shooting you for your watch and all this other, you move up in life to move to safety. Human beings are about survival. This is all it is. It's survival. Why do you think when these big-time athletes in the NFL and the NBA, they get their big contracts, why do you think they immediately move to these safe neighborhoods that happen to be all Caucasian, all white, and mostly gated? Look at Oprah. Look at all these people who talk a big game. They're all living in all white gated communities, these multi-million-dollar homes, no one around them. Barack Obama, Barack and Michelle, what do you think? What do you think they're doing, right? They're not living in Chicago in the hood, right? They're moving to safety. But what happens is when you move to these areas, you deal with, for the most part, I would say over 99%, highly educated people. And when the level of education goes up, you deal with less ignorance. And when you deal with less ignorance, you're subsequently dealing with less racism. And when you have your own money and you have your own ability to earn and you're not depending on anyone else, well, then no one can keep you from things. I can walk into places where I live, and the fact that I pulled up in a certain car and the fact that I have membership to this club automatically lets everyone know that I have money. I have a certain level of success and wealth. And they treat me as such. I'm not going to lie. That feels good. So as I've gotten higher and higher and higher on the ladder, the level of ignorance and the level of racism have gone down to literally zero. I have a hard time thinking about. It's been literally years and years and years. I have a hard time even thinking about the last time something happened to me that was pure racism, meaning I was being deprived of something solely based on the color of my skin, and other people who were not my skin color were being given that opportunity or given that thing. I literally can't remember the last time that happened. Now, in my younger years, I could name quite a few times and quite a few incidents that would happen. But now I don't experience that. I don't experience that because I've gotten to a certain level of wealth and I've put myself in a certain situation that those things are not coming into my world. They don't exist. So when people ask me about success and hey, what's the best part? People are like, oh, what's the best part? It's not the cars. It's not the houses. It's not the stuff. All that stuff is great. And I tell people, if that's what you want to go after in life and that's what's going to make you happy, do it. I'm never going to be the person to say, oh, whatever, don't buy cars, don't buy houses. Material things are material things. I will always say that they're just material things. At the end of the day, nothing is more important than your health and your family and love. You need those things in your life. Material things, they can be added to that and might bring a smile to your face here and there. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But those material things and the level I've gotten to, those things are just secondary and tertiary to the fact that I have money and access to the things I do, the place I live, and where I can go, where I can eat. You walk into a restaurant, you pull up in a car that's multiple six figures. I pull up in a car that's multiple six figures. I get out. I have nice clothes on. I'm dressed like a gentleman. I'm not dressed like some derelict. I'm not dressed like a hoodlum. I am dressed like a gentleman because the place I'm going to has a dress code. So I'm dressed like a gentleman. I get out of a multiple six-figure car. I hand the key to the valet or leave it in the cup holder. And that person, ironically, where I'm going, the valets are white guys, older, retired white guys, because that's a good job around here. If you're older and you're retired, it doesn't matter what color skin you are. But just so happen, that's the places I go. Older white guys, they're the valet. And they're kind. They're respectful. And I get out, I walk in, I get the table I want, I order the food I want, I order the beverages I want. I get great service. And I walk out. And I leave phenomenal tips. And I leave phenomenal tips because I know to some degree, although I've been given great service, I know for some people, there's this inkling, there's this thought that someone who looks like me is going to give a bad tip. So I always leave double the amount I'm supposed to leave. Because I'm changing that thought. I'm shifting that paradigm. I'm respectful. I speak appropriately. I speak English. And I do these things because now I've gotten to that level where not only, I'm not just going to demand respect, I'm going to be respectful. And I'm going to do the things that garner respect. And that has gotten me even higher in this world. Having humility, having respect, respecting my elders, respecting the rules, respecting the law, respecting law enforcement. That is what helped me beat racism. Success, working my ass off. Despite the things that happened to me, not being a victim. If something bad happened that was straight up racism, I fought it, I won, and I didn't lie down and cry. I kept going. Yeah, I've dealt with some shit, and I dealt with it accordingly. I fought back, and I kept going. And I kept going. I didn't sit there and say the world is against me, oh my God. No. I fought and I clawed for more and more and more until the people that tried to take me out with racism, I can go buy their entire neighborhood right now. They're pathetic. They're sad. They're fat. They're weak. They're bald. They're losers. And I don't even need to think about those people in my life anymore because I'm in a place that's so amazing and so wonderful, surrounded by such incredible people who've also worked hard to get to the same level as me, some of them way higher. But they respect me because they realize that I did not get here by some handout. I did not get here by some rich uncle or a dad who gave me a big check or anything like that. No, I got here through grit and tireless hard work and determination. Ownership. I owned that every step of the way, no one was going to do it for me. No one was coming to save me. In fact, there were people who were probably trying to drown me and push my head back underwater. Not only did I have to come above the water and save myself because there was no lifeguard, I had to figure out how to get to shore, climb up on shore, dry myself off, and get back to work. That's what I needed to do. That's how I defeated the racism that did exist, and it got less and less, and less and less, and less and less. You want to defeat racism and you want to eliminate racism from your world. You put in the work and you get out of that situation. I dealt with more racism in areas where more people look like me than anywhere else. And that's the truth. I'm not sitting here saying by any means it doesn't exist. That's a lie. It does exist, and it is alive and well. However, if you change your life and you decide to take the appropriate action, you can, like I have, virtually eliminate it from your world. And that's just my reality. And you see it with other people too. You see with these big time celebrities of color. You don't ever see them talking about racism. You don't see them talking about they didn't get served or they didn't get let in here. No. Walk into any building, walk into any restaurant, walk into any hotel, walk into any university. If anything, there's benefits for people of color, more so now than ever before when it comes to the job and workplace and hospitals and, universities, all that stuff. So it's just a matter of owning it, not being a victim, fighting back, and leveling up and leveling up and leveling up. and not pointing the finger at anyone else. And if someone does something to you, don't cry about it. Move on, fight back, win, and keep going. That's how you win in life, no matter what skin color you are. That is how you win in this life. And that is what's required. So the people who ask about racism in my world and how I beat it or how I deal with it, I don't deal with it anymore because I did the work. And it's the best work I have ever done, and it's the greatest thing I've ever done. I'm able to take care of myself, my family, and those around me because of the work I put in. And I've helped insulate those around me as well. And I'll never look back with any regret for doing it. I'm able to go back to where I came from and use the money that I have now from building a business, a global corporation that makes millions of dollars a year. I'm able to go back to the places where I came from and help people that look like me and look like whatever. I'm able to do things like that because of where I am financially today. And that is awesome. That is rewarding. Hopefully, something I do in those areas and some of the other areas I work and I give back to, I hope that what I give back can help even one child in that community that looks like me get to where I am today. If just even one gets it to where I am today and eliminates racism from their world, that's a win. That's a win. We are human beings. It will always be in our society. There are people in our world that are always going to have a problem with people of color. They're always going to have a problem with people of the Jewish faith. They're always going to have a problem with people of Hispanic faith. There's a Hispanic background. There's always going to be people who have a thing against Asians and people from Asian countries. There's always going to be people on this planet that look at people who are overweight and treat them differently and talk badly about them. There's always going to be people on this planet that put down and disparage women. There's always going to be women who put down and disparage men. There is no utopia. It will never be like that. So what you have to do, what I figured out I had to do, instead of sitting there and dreaming for this utopia to appear one day so I don't have to do anything and everything just drops in my lap, I realized it's never going to happen. And I saw the lives that people who look like me with a lot of money were living, and they were never dealing with racism. And I said, that is what I have to do. That is what I have to do. Black doctors, black lawyers, black engineers, black politicians, black police chiefs, black CEOs. I watched them all. I tracked them. I saw what they were doing. Yeah, no, they weren't dealing with it. They rose above it. And they eradicated it from their lives. So for those of you who ask how I deal with it and how I got above it, that's how. The greatest revenge in life is living a good life. The greatest revenge in this world is success and happiness. That truly is the greatest revenge of all. Success, freedom, and living a good life.